ad strategist, and anyone who's ever side-eyed their LinkedIn CPC. Welcome. Today we have with us a true LinkedIn ads powerhouse, AJ Wilcox, founder of B2 Linked, has helped 800 plus companies crack the LinkedIn ads code, managing over $150 million in ad spend. AJ isn't just an expert. He's a certified LinkedIn partner, podcast host, and a global keynote speaker. Let's give him a virtual round of applause for AJ Wilcox. AJ, thanks so much for being here. We can't wait to learn from you.
Well, thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
Perfect. AJ, let's start with something our audience is craving to know. What's one LinkedIn advertising strategy that most marketers completely overlook but delivers impressive results?
This one is kind of a hard answer because this is a strategy that takes quite a bit of time and effort. But what we find is that if we go, this is what every client wants. They want calls booked with their sales team from an audience that they've selected on LinkedIn. But the challenge is if you go right to a cold audience who's never heard of you, they don't yet know, like, and trust you, with an ad that says, get a demo, talk to our sales department, put in your credit card now, no one will do it because it's too much too soon. We talk about it being like proposing marriage on the first date. You might be a good marriage partner, but you just scared them away by asking. So what we find is the optimal conversion rates happen in a three-stage funnel. So in the top stage, we call it stage one, that's cold. This is where you're just really getting to know them. Stage two is after they have some sort of an interaction, and now they know you and trust you a little bit more. And then only by stage three is it really appropriate to ask for someone to hop on a call with your sales rep. And we find when we do this, we just did a study this last week where our stage three conversion rates were 5 times higher than they were in stage two. So we know every additional touch that you have with that prospect, they're going to know, like, and trust you more and be much more open to that. So as we structure this 3-stage funnel, we end up getting really good cost per lead, cost per conversion, really high quality conversions. But of course, that takes time to build this 3-stage funnel. You have to spend, sometimes weeks, months to fill each stage with enough people that it starts to kick out volume. But that's what we've seen. It's overlooked because it's hard and takes time, not because it doesn't work.
Right. And have you seen any specific ad formats that work especially for these 3 stages?
Stage 1 and stage 2 are really all about getting someone efficiently retargeted to the next stage. And the most efficient ad formats for retargeting is anything that's video. So a video ad, or especially a video thought leader ad, but also document ads. Document ads, you can retarget anyone who interacts at all with the document. And so I love using those thought leader ads, video thought leader ads, and document ads at the top. In middle, it's kind of the same game. If you have longer video, if you have documents there, but most of the time we're trying to give them an asset that is meaty, like they, blog posts and ebooks and guides and that kind of thing. And so a lot of the kinds of ad formats we use there tend to be single image ads. But yeah, by the time you're in stage 3, then we usually find that we can pair up a conversation ad with a single image ad, both with the goal of getting them booked on a demo or to talk to someone. And that tends to work great.
Right. Perfect. AJ, LinkedIn ads often have a reputation of being expensive, because they are. For agencies managing multiple client accounts, what's the biggest mistake you see that drives the costs up without delivering results?
The biggest mistake I see is that agencies are just accepting LinkedIn's default and accepting LinkedIn's advice. Because if you go into a LinkedIn campaign, there are 4 settings that are auto-checked where all 4 of them are a bad idea. The first one is, well, actually, I'll skip to the one that is the most egregious. And if you want to ask about the others, you can. In the bidding section, the default bidding method is maximum delivery bidding. And that's a CPM bid where LinkedIn gets to bid as high as it wants to in order to spend your budget. So most advertisers who use this are paying $20 to $40 per link click, which is insane. Whereas our clients on average, we're paying $7 to $8 per link click, all through North America. So that's the one thing that if people figured out, let's figure out what's the right value to bid manually, that they would save them a ton of money.
Right. Wow, that's quite a massive difference between the
Yeah.
average and what your clients pay. How did you get to that?
My focus has always been on performance for LinkedIn ads. And I've been doing this now for 14 years. 14 years ago is when I jumped into LinkedIn ads for the first time. And I came from a Google ads background. So I would use all the same tricks. Everything I would learn from Google ads, I would implement on LinkedIn and try to figure it out. And over time, I found out that the auction is, it's skewed. It's weighted towards, it's actually weighted towards manual bidding, where manual bidding is the most efficient. It's the least expensive way to pay for traffic 90% of the time. But the option that they auto check for you is maximum delivery. That's the most expensive way to pay 90% of the time. So I also figured out this strategy before LinkedIn ever came out with maximum delivery bidding. And so when they introduced it, I started testing and went, this is really expensive. Why is anyone doing this? And of course, we know why they're doing it. It's the default option. And we feel like if I start a campaign on a network, whatever they recommend, if I don't know better, I'll just try it out.
Yeah, makes sense. You said 4. You mentioned 1. What are the other 3?
All right, the other 3 are the geography targeting. If you're LinkedIn automatically sets that to a recent or permanent geography. What they don't tell you, and you can't even find it in the support documentation, recent means 6 months. So if we have a client who is targeting just North America, what happens a lot of times is in the summer, all the way until the winter, the client will say, hey, by the way, we're getting a lot of leads from like the Philippines and from Europe and from South America. Are we targeting those? And we look and we go, no, we're not targeting those. What happened is LinkedIn starts targeting them because they came and visited on a summer vacation. And the same thing happens worldwide. But if you just change that geographic targeting to permanent only, then you're only targeting the people whose profiles say that they live there. The next one is underneath your targeting, there's an option for enable audience expansion. They auto check that, and it's probably one of the worst things for your campaign. I call it poison. Always uncheck that box, because what LinkedIn is doing, they are introducing audiences into the audiences that you've chosen, but you didn't choose them. And they won't tell you how much of your audience is given by this result. You can't separate the performance to know whether it's a good audience or bad. And I think the most damning here is that the algorithm that built that is the same algorithm that they used for building a lookalike audience. Well, they decided lookalikes didn't work, and so they sunset them over a year ago and replaced them now with predictive audiences. So why use the feature that they figured wasn't useful enough to keep in the platform? So always uncheck that. And then the next one, the third one, is LinkedIn Audience Network. LinkedIn will auto check that placement. It's under placements, and it's LinkedIn and LinkedIn Audience Network. Always uncheck the audience network, because it drives crappy traffic, and it will take all of the budget. Like seriously, 99% of your impressions will go to the audience network, leaving only 1% for LinkedIn, where we know traffic is the highest quality. So if you check all 4 of those settings on every campaign, it's going to save you a lot of money and really increase the quality of your traffic.
Yeah, thank you. That's very sneaky of LinkedIn, but thank you so much for thank you so much for letting people know that they can work around it. All right. So AJ, when you're managing multiple LinkedIn campaigns for different clients, what's your approach to account structure that keeps everything organized without losing efficiency? Because I'm assuming you're working with many, many campaigns and multiple clients. So how do you stay sane in the whole chaos?
Early on, I managed an account that had over 3,000 active campaigns.
Wow.
And I realized at that point, I really need to get dialed in on this organization. Otherwise, this is going to be a complete mess. So what I suggest is build everything. This is going to sound counterintuitive. Build everything within a single campaign group. It's because LinkedIn is so The way that campaign groups were implemented is really janky, and you can't copy audiences between campaign groups. And there's a lot of clicking out to click back in just to see your performance. So I build everything within the same campaign group, and I adjust all of my campaign names to include certain things. So my campaign names are going to include what stage of the funnel, if it's stage 1, 2, 3, or even more. We've got one account that has a stage 6. It also includes the ad type we're using, the objective we're choosing, and all of the details about how we're targeting. And of course, you can add anything else there you want, if it's like a product category or something like that. But because we have this very strict naming structure for all of our campaigns, when I look in an account, it's very easy to search and find a specific thing, very easy to isolate, to check tests. And I found this to be the very best way to report, spot trends, and I'm very ADHD. You can probably tell. And so organization is difficult for me, but this is one thing where I've realized organization is paramount. It's so important for being able to really evaluate an account's performance quickly.
Right. So you've been doing this since 2011, right? So tell us about a LinkedIn ads campaign that completely bombed initially when you started, but it's completely changed the way you approach campaigns forever.
Oh, I don't know if this is going to be a great example, but I definitely have this example. So we started working with a SaaS software company. This is early on, years ago, and they catered to human resources executives, selling software to them. And we took whatever offers the client had, and so we were sharing lots of like, here's a gated ebook, here's another gated asset, and that was their strategy at the time, and which used to work. What was so interesting is every one of these assets that I tried, we could not get our cost per download less than like $147, which was expensive. There are some clients who can pay that, but most can't. So we'd been running for about 2 months, and I went, oh no, we're at risk for losing this account because nothing that I do, nothing I test, can we get under that value. And then overnight, they came out with a new asset, and it was called the Definitive Guide to Employee Onboarding. And I didn't do anything differently. I launched that asset exactly the same as the other assets, similar kind of imagery, similar kind of ad copy, but overnight, our conversion rates tripled and our click-through rates doubled. And we ended up with costs in the like $25 to $33 range per download.
Wow.
And what I took that to understand, it felt like it was really bombing at the beginning, and then it became a success. And I didn't do anything differently. The only thing that we did is we released an asset that people actually cared about. That onboarding at the time must have been a really significant pain point for HR executives. And when someone got a great asset around that, they would go out of their way to consume it and download it. And that taught me that you don't just give your audience what you have, you give them what they need, what they want. And that has really helped me in coaching all of our other clients what sorts of content to create.
Yeah, brilliant. That actually brings me to thought leader content that performs really well on LinkedIn, like you mentioned. So how can agencies scale this approach across multiple clients without each campaign feeling too generic?
Thought leader ads are kind of difficult. They are the highest performing ad format right now, especially when they're video, but they're difficult to have created, and they're difficult to sponsor, to get into your campaigns. So I think you just need practice. But here's the biggest challenge. It's as an advertiser, you want some of these thought leader posts to promote, but in order to get that, one of your executives or your founder or an internal thought leader or subject matter expert at the company has to somehow create the post on their own account. And then once they create that, we have to send a permission to them that they accept and say they're willing to have their post shared. That's the biggest thing. So what I have found to be the most successful for getting executives to do this is do it in an interview format. So rather than just saying, hey, Mr. CEO or Mrs. CEO, would you please record a 40-second video for me about this topic? They won't do it. It's scary. It's a lot of work, and it's work they're not used to, so it won't get done. But if you schedule a 30-minute appointment with them, recording just like we are now, and ask them questions like, hey, how do you feel about this new industry update? How should people react to this? Give us a quick tip, a strategy, something like this. Then you can take those little snippets and then deliver them the video and say, hey, Mr. or Mrs. CEO, go post this, please. And then us as advertisers, we can kind of take it from there. And we found that to be the very most successful way of actually getting this content created.
That's beautiful. Also very scrappy. So you do the basic skeletal work and just let them do the posting. That's
Yes.
Brilliant. So
and once they see like how it's performing, they're going to be willing to do more. And they're going to care more about, the video quality didn't look that great, or the audio quality didn't work that great. What do I need? Do I need a better webcam? Do I need a better microphone? They'll ask those questions because they care about how they look, and they're going to be seen a lot. So let it happen. Let it happen very organically on their laptop webcam or their phone webcam and default microphone. Let it happen that way first. Then they'll want to up level as they go.
Yeah, that's actually a very brilliant idea and a segue to my next question. So for agencies with clients who have very limited creative resources, what simple tips can you share for creating effective video ads? Like you said, webcam, smartphone. What formats do you see do really well? Scrappy budgets, lean teams, how do they approach it?
I think one of the most exciting things about creating video with a lean team, if I would have told you 5 years ago or 2 years ago, hey, Artie, I need you to go and create video, you'd be like, oh man, we have to go hire a studio, rent time, bring in, rented camera equipment. And it was really scary. So everyone who did video, it cost a lot and it was a huge risk. But today we have these smartphones all in our pockets that are capable of fantastic video. The lighting doesn't even have to be that good. The audio is passable. So I think for creating this kind of content, don't look any further than just the webcam you have on your computer or your smartphone, and create that content. I'm also I did a little bit of video editing back in high school, but I'm not good at it. But I really fell in love with this platform called Descript, and I think I only pay $12 a month for it. And it gives me a video editing suite that's pretty good. And it's based off of text. Like if there's a paragraph I want to cut, I delete the text from like a Word document and it clips the video for me. So I think this is and I'm not like a shill for Descript. There's lots of different apps like this, lots of different ways. But what I'm sharing is you have a free phone to take the video with, and there are low cost solutions for editing, and they are quite good. So I think it's totally possible for a scrappy small team to figure this stuff out and kick out really high performing content.
Absolutely. And what duration are we looking at? Like 15 seconds, 30 seconds, a minute? What's the length of the video?
Depends a little bit on what stage of the funnel someone is in. I find that 20 to 40 seconds is ideal for stage one. And then once they've already interacted with you, then going for more like 40 seconds to a minute 10 is totally appropriate for stage two. And we get good interaction, good viewing duration there.
Beautiful. So talking a little bit about reporting and demonstrating value. So what's your framework for reporting LinkedIn ads performance to clients that clearly demonstrates value, especially when costs per click are higher than other platforms?
Yeah, I think it's so important to see the end result of what you're driving. So if you're driving traffic to the website, obviously you're going to care about some sort of a conversion, but you may not actually see conversions for a month or two in a strategy, and that's really difficult. You want to show that value. So one thing that we've done is we'll go into their analytics tool, Google Analytics, and we'll implement some conversions to tell us how people are interacting on the site. So maybe they're not hitting that schedule a demo button, but can we fire a conversion when they've been on the site for 20 seconds, for 40 seconds, for 60 seconds, when they scroll to 50% of the page, 70%, and 90% of the page? And that way, we can tell the client, yes, we don't have demos yet. We're still waiting on these people to self-nurture and make it through the funnel. But the traffic that is on the website, look at how they're interacting and look at how high quality they are, especially when you compare it with their other channels. Then we also have tools that are like visitor identification tools. So some like Factors.ai and Clearbit, they'll tell you who the companies are who are visiting your website. And then there's like RB2B.com and others who will do personal identification. They'll tell you, here's the person with a link to their LinkedIn profile who's visiting your website. So I like to say, look at our LinkedIn targeting. We're targeting the very best people. Look what companies are visiting your website. Look at who the people are who are visiting. That's a match. And we can prove that LinkedIn really is sending the best quality traffic. That's good evidence that we're on the right track and following our strategy. Once we build this third stage of the funnel to be large enough, then it's going to start generating these, the sales calls that they're actually wanting. That's what I find. Start them with little bits of data, prove that you're on the right track. And then when the data actually proves that the strategy is working, we all get to breathe a sigh of relief.
Absolutely. And how are you managing your reporting currently for our Swydo users who create reports for their clients? Which metrics or KPIs on a monthly basis they should be sharing with their clients?
This one's really hard because there's a lot of metrics that we use, and they're very much dependent on the ad format being used. So at the top of the funnel, what we really care about is getting interactions at a very low cost that are then going to build the retargeting audience for the next stage. So if it's video, we care about having my most efficient metric that I like to track is a cost per 50% view and a 50% view rate, telling us how much do we have to pay for someone who is going to watch at least 50% of this video ad. And that's a great one. I also then retarget by whoever made it 50% through the video, add them to this audience. So I love video top of funnel. That's one of my favorite metrics. Towards the bottom, we obviously care about a cost per lead, a cost per actual click conversion. So I'm looking at conversion rate, I'm looking at cost per conversion. And if you just look at LinkedIn's cost per conversion metric, it's lying to you. Conversions in LinkedIn's eyes are your view through conversions plus your click conversions. And I saw an instance with another agency where they reported to the client and said, we got you 5 conversions this week. And they looked in their CRM and said, we only see 2 names. And it got them in trouble because the client's naturally going to assume, if I see that something you're telling me is incorrect, that means you either don't know what you're doing or you're lying to me. And we don't want that with any of our clients. Those are both terrible outcomes. So a lot of the conversions you see are going to be view through conversions that I don't think we can take credit for. So as I build this metric, I do my leads plus my click conversions, and I call those my total conversions. I use that metric to build my cost per conversion and my conversion rate.
Brilliant. So I'm not assuming, I know that you speak to a lot of clients on a day-to-day basis because you're handling multiple accounts. So what approaches have you found the most effective for tying LinkedIn campaigns to business outcomes that clients really care about? How are you dealing with transparency, honesty, because they are putting so much money in your hands and trusting you to do the work?
Yeah, I think if they have something to compare against, if they were either running an account before by themselves or if they were working with a different agency, it's really important for us to be able to compare. Here's the performance you were seeing before, and here's the performance you can see now. And generally, when we bring on a client, we end up decreasing costs by about 57%. So that's one thing where I rely on and say, hey, we're getting you a 57% discount compared to what you were doing last quarter. So that's helpful. But I think transparency is really key, like you mentioned. We have it's one of our company values where if we screw up, we go to the client and we tell them we screwed up. Like, we don't try to, massage or twist or spin what happened. We let them know. And most of the time it's not an issue. Most of the time they really appreciate us coming to them and letting them know the issue that happened and taking credit for it, or taking the blame. No one likes working with someone where you catch them doing something and they never admit what they did wrong. So be transparent, be authentic, and I think that's going to help your relationship for a long time.
Right. AJ, what's your approach to reporting per se? Do you do monthly reporting? Do you hop on calls with clients? How are you tackling that aspect at the agency?
We've done a lot of different models trying to find the most beneficial here. We tend to do weekly reporting with our clients, and what we found is if we were only looking at just performance from the last 7 days, it's not a big enough picture to actually see trends and see what's happening. So we still will do a weekly report for clients, but we let the data be a trailing 30 days. So we get a month's worth of data to give us color and help us find issues there. I also find that for a new client, I like to meet with them on a weekly basis, because when you very first onboard, there's lots to do, tons of changes here, and we still need this, and let's get this launched. So if we can schedule appointments, let's say for the first month and a half on a weekly basis, then when things calm down, you can see the strategy's working. There's not a whole lot of change week to week. Then we start saying, hey, let's meet every other week or once per month. And I think that's, the client appreciates getting time back in their schedule. And then of course we appreciate getting a little bit of time freed up. We can then take that time and invest it into helping their account perform better.
Right. And how frequently should agencies be optimizing client campaigns once they are rolling with it? And which specific optimizations tend to have the best impact for most clients? Is it like set and forget? Or how do you do it?
What I find is when you're doing cost optimizations, we can make changes about twice per week. When I make a bidding change, to see the result of that, I need 2 to 3 business days and whole business days to see the result, and to know that it's, that's an expected result we could expect in the future. So probably twice to maybe 3 times per week, we're doing cost optimizations. But ad optimizations, I would usually give any ad creative 2 weeks to a full month to evaluate. So I don't think you need to be in the account every day pausing one ad because it hasn't been performing. Make sure you've got at least $500 of spend behind each ad creative before you decide it's a bad performer.
Wow, brilliant.
And I think you asked another question there that I may not have answered.
Yeah, it was like, which specific optimization tends to have the biggest impact for most clients? Yeah.
I think cost optimization has the biggest impact, because that's how we can say, we're going to get the same traffic either way from LinkedIn. The reps won't tell you that. They'll actually disagree with this, but our testing has found that we get the same traffic, whether we're bidding high or whether we're bidding low. So if we can find what is the right bid that we just barely spend their daily budget, but not overpay, then we've been able to reduce the costs that the client pays to LinkedIn for the same thing by 20 to 80%. So if you find what that value is, let's say one little optimization gets you a 20% cost decrease, you're now able to get another 1/5 more clicks, traffic, visits, whatever you're tracking, for the same budget. So I find that to be the absolute best way to spend your time. But if the same ad creatives have been running for, it's usually about a month, people start to get sick of seeing them. You'll start to track your click-through rate over time on these, and you'll see your click-through rate start to drop. So another big optimization is at least monthly, do some kind of a refresh on your ads so that they look different. Launch something new, a new test. New imagery is usually the biggest thing you can do to make it look all fresh. Even if you have the same offer, changing the image, changing the copy. These are great optimizations you can make that you don't have to make very often, but make sure you're making them.
All right. Talking about agency pricing and growth a little bit. So LinkedIn expertise, I'm commands premium rates, right? So how should agencies structure their pricing for LinkedIn services to remain profitable while still delivering value?
Oh, this one is so hard. I've been working with pricing models. We're over 10 years old now, and
Mhm.
we're still trying to play with a pricing model. The challenge that agencies see, that I think probably the biggest challenge, is that we are not an in-house employee for the company. We can usually grant quite a big discount compared to an in-house employee, just depending on their level of spend. But we can't dedicate the same number of hours. As an agency, you have multiple clients and only so many hours in the day. So I don't know that I have great advice other than pay attention to the number of hours that you're giving to each client and make sure that someone doesn't go forgotten. Every once in a while, we'll see one client they're the squeaky wheel and they're constantly every day asking for something. They end up getting a disproportionate amount of our time and effort, and a really good client who never complains, who just expects everything's running great. If they don't say something, they might get ignored and get less of our time, which isn't fair. So we purposely try to pay attention, make sure that every account is getting the attention it deserves. As for how you charge, I don't know. The bigger an account is, we find that I don't find a better model than charging as a percentage of ad spend. But it has to, the percentage has to drop significantly the larger the budget, because we do put more effort into an account that spends 100,000 a month than we do with an account that spends 5,000 a month. But it's not perfectly linear. That person shouldn't be paying 20 times more than the smaller account. So that's what we've figured is, let's charge as a percentage of ad spend on large budgets, but give big discounts as budgets go higher, because we're finding more efficiencies that we can run. I don't know if that fully answers the question, but
no, it's actually quite a great tip and very generous of you. Makes it very fair in my mind. All right, so wrapping up, I have a few rapid fire questions, but before I do that, I want to know, in 2025, LinkedIn is constantly adding new features, and what upcoming changes should marketers prepare for?
I think one of the biggest is they're adding a lot of tools to their stable of measurement. They call it their measurement suite. For the longest, and I know this isn't rapid, I apologize, but
no, it's okay. I am yet to jump to my rapid fire round. This is my last question,
perfect.
where I go in depth. Yeah.
All right, perfect. I'll go a little bit more in depth here. The challenge that we've always had, you mentioned it here at the beginning of the interview, is LinkedIn ads are expensive. So if we're paying more for something, we expect more from it. And LinkedIn has traditionally not been very good at giving us tools that let us measure the outcomes and actually judge, is this a higher quality traffic than we can get somewhere else for a lot cheaper? But here in the last probably year, 2 years, LinkedIn has really taken this seriously. And now we have the revenue attribution report, where we can pass closed deals right from our CRM right to LinkedIn. And then LinkedIn can tell us how they contributed to that deal. We have the conversions API, where without cookies, we can report back to LinkedIn when major conversions are happening, like a closed deal or a sales qualified lead happened. We can report that back to LinkedIn, not only so we can see it in the dashboard, but we can also teach LinkedIn, these are the signals to look for. Go find us more people like that. And these kinds of tools just keep coming. And I'm really excited to see what LinkedIn brings out next.
Beautiful. Okay, so let's start with our rapid fire round.
Okay.
All right. So if LinkedIn gave you full control for a day, what's the first thing you'd change?
I think I would change all of the defaults in the campaigns to be the defaults that bring advertisers the best performance, not the most money to their bottom line.
Brilliant. When a client campaign isn't performing well and you need quick fix results, what's your go-to fix?
Either bidding down to minimize the amount of traffic that bad creative is running, or switching up the words. It's really easy to make an ad copy adjustment to see if that can improve things.
Brilliant. If an agency has a client with a tight budget, where should they put their first $1,000 on LinkedIn ads?
I think it has to be thought leader ads to begin with. They get a lot of attention for not very much money, but watch that bidding. Don't bid more than you absolutely have to. Get as many interactions as you can for that $1,000 budget.
Okay, I'm going to pause the rapid fire a bit because I have a question directly related to it, and I'm going to sneak it in. How do you see newsletters perform? Do they add a lot? Because LinkedIn's been promoting it quite a bit.
So organically, newsletters are awesome. When you start one, they basically do a push notification to all of your connections and followers and tell them like, hey, this exists. So in one weekend, we had just as many followers to our newsletter on LinkedIn than we had for our physical newsletter, or our
the
company
email
newsletter.
One,
yeah, our email newsletter for running it for 7 years. So I think organically it's a total no-brainer. From an advertising side, now that we're able to sponsor those, I haven't found them to be very efficient on a cost per new subscriber basis, but I've only run 2 tests at this point. So anyone else who has data suggesting that this is really good, please let me know. I would be excited to help promote it and do a case study or something.
All right, brilliant. Okay, finally, in one sentence, what's your golden rule for LinkedIn advertising that agencies should never break?
Oh, this is a hard one. There's so many golden rules. I think the golden rule has to be don't take LinkedIn's advice. Do your own testing and find out what's the most effective use of your client's budget. That will serve you very well.
All right. Wow, AJ, this has been a gold mine of LinkedIn advertising insights. I know our audience has taken pages of notes, so have I, and probably saved ourselves tons of money. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise with such clarity and being so generous with all your knowledge. Before we wrap up, where can people find you if they want to learn more, possibly even work with you?
Oh yeah, I've got 3 resources to share. Number 1 is we have a community. It's called the LinkedIn Ads Fanatics, and it's a paid private community, but you get access to all 4 of our courses that lead you from absolute zero knowledge on LinkedIn to full expert. Plus you get access to everyone in the community. And there's even an upgraded option to hop on weekly group calls with me where I can give direct feedback. So anyone who's into LinkedIn ads, I think that's your community. The second is connect with me on LinkedIn, but I get a lot of connection requests. So just make sure to add the little note and say, yeah, you heard me on RT's show, on Swydo's show. Then I would be happy to be connected to you. And I share a lot of good stuff there. And of course, our website, b2linked.com. If you're interested in working with us at all, just go fill out the form on any of those pages and we'll set up a meeting for you and I to chat about your goals and what you're looking to do.